Hey everyone, it's Adele. How are you all doing? Lately, I have been really sentimental for the old kind of YouTube content where people just get on here and share helpful, useful things that they've learned in life. That was how I started my channel, and I would like to continue in that vein going forward. So today's video is a topic that is really important to me. I always give this disclaimer. It's not right, it's not fair, I don't agree with it, but the truth is that people will make snap judgments about you and treat you accordingly in life. One thing I advise everyone to do is not just to take scientific tales and facts you hear on the internet, to look out in your communities, to talk to your neighbors, to think back on your own personal experiences, to look at your current day experience and see what information you can draw from that. I grew up as an ugly kid. I remember my mother used to mock the boys on the playground and say, "One day she'll be pretty and you'll all be sorry." I'll talk about that more in a future video. There was an amazing teacher, and I guess you could call him a philosopher, John Taylor Gatto. And he worked with African American students in the inner city, and he began noticing these trends. He would have these African American children who were being raised to be afraid of white people, who spoke with their eyes downcast, who were nervous, who didn't have confidence. And then they would grow up later in life and they would fail at job interviews. And they would say, "Oh, it's because of racism." And John Taylor Gatto really kind of preached and tried to help these children develop confidence, how to speak well, how to present yourself well, how to smile, how to look someone in the eye, how to have good posture, how to walk with confidence and purpose. And these are things that can benefit anyone of any age. So I hope that if you're watching this video, you'll take these to heart for yourself. And I really also hope that you can spread this message to children. This is very important. This is something that children need to know in this day and age. In my experience, being a child out in the world, you need to have certain energy, certain skills to prevent yourself from getting preyed upon, either by bullies, predatory adults. It's kind of like being part of a herd on the African Sahara. The lions come out and they're constantly watching, and they're looking for the young. They're looking for the weak. Those are the ones that they're going to pick off, right? I had some very strange predatory teachers. I had some strange, potentially sexual predatory people in my vicinity as a kid. And this is what happens when people can see that you're kind of poor, you're neglected, you have a really unhealthy mother, you don't have a father in the house. These people can kind of tell a child who doesn't have anything backing them up, a kid who's out there in the wilderness of society and life all on their own. And they'll play games with you, they will pick on you, they will see in you weaknesses and shame that they carry inside themselves, and they will hate you for it. I shared a story like this about a time I had to speak up for my little brother when a predatory principal was trying to hold him back a grade. And I also have a video talking about all the sexual predators I escaped as a child, so I'm going to link those below, and I'll put timestamps if you want to get to the specific stories. So let's get started on the 5 things that you can do today to start getting a better response from other people out in the world. So the first is to make eye contact when you speak. For myself, I was being bullied at home. I didn't feel good about myself at all. I had cripplingly low self-confidence. I carried a lot of shame, which is really, it's this kind of this deep, dark feeling that you're just a burden to life and that your existence is offensive. And it's something that you take on from your parents and from the way you're treated. One very obvious way that shame manifests is when a person keeps their head down. And that could also be shifting of the eyes, looking away, not meeting someone's eyes. So not only are these signs of shame, but they can also be signs of deception. And they make people instinctively feel uncomfortable. Now, you might just be doing it because you're uncomfortable with eye contact, but other people don't know that. I think this is one thing where you can kind of fake it till you make it. You can practice always remembering to be mindful to make eye contact when you're talking with someone. And it'll be really awkward at first if you're not used to it. But over time, the intensity of it will start to lower down a bit for you. Or you can find people who you're more comfortable making eye contact with and spend more time with them, right? It might be more difficult maintaining eye contact with a strict authority figure or a really attractive person. So a great way to practice this, if you need it, is with people in the public service, like people at the library or the grocery store or the person making your coffee or tea. You guys may remember in my last video, I talked about how I stood up for a young man at the library who a librarian was threatening to kick out. I'll link and timestamp that below if you want to hear that story. There were a lot of things about this interaction that stood out to me, but one of them was that this was a library in a well-to-do area. A lot of homes here that are $1 million or more. You know, you think you're walking in a national park, but it's actually just their front driveway. So there are a lot of kids at that library who are the children of highly influential people or very important people. You know, people who serve on government in Calgary, lawyers, surgeons. So really, it would be a very bad idea for this librarian to have threatened someone like that. However, she seemed to take all liberties with attacking this young man. There's something very strange about people who are in a negative environment in their home, children. You can tell just by looking at them. They will have a different posture. They will seem kind of uncomfortable in their skin. You can tell that maybe they have a certain puffiness to their face from eating food with additives. I mean, these kids who grew up in that neighborhood of that library, they're eating organic, you know, they're drinking this fancy water, they're taking vitamins. Even little things like clothing. This kid was wearing he was wearing kind of like sweatpants and like a hoodie, some kind of goofy insignia on it. Maybe it was WWE wrestling or something like that. Such a simple thing like that is a very obvious indicator of this person's socioeconomic status. Now, you don't have to spend a lot of money to look like you're someone who might have parents that are going to come into this library and tear someone a new one or file a lawsuit. If he had just simply replaced that WWF sweatshirt with like a plain, something more plain, right? Like a simple plain collared shirt, even just a clean basic tee, things with these cheap logos or, you know, things that show that your parents are into bread and circuses like Spider-Man and WWF and all that kind of stuff. Dress yourself in comfortable, clean, unpatterned clothes that fit decently well. This doesn't mean go out and buy the most expensive thing you can to try and look fancy. You can get professional looking, clean, normal clothes at Walmart. Really simple style for children, I would say, would be Gap Kids. Look at Gap Kids type clothes, and you can either purchase those because they're relatively affordable depending, or you can just get an idea of what that looks like and recreate it from thrift stores, from Walmart. Don't send your kids to school with Spider-Man and World Wrestling labeled clothing. If you're going to send your kid out in the world, I would say to dress them as a young professional to a certain degree. Not anything too fancy, although of course I prefer fancy. Kids who appear to be professional and well cared for and well spoken will be treated that way. And there are studies. There was a study they did where they told the teachers that 6 of these children in your classroom have been tested and they are highly intelligent. Well, the kids actually had all tested similarly, but because the teacher treated these children differently, they had higher expectations for them. It actually turned out that those kids, those specific children that they pointed out, ended up succeeding far beyond the other kids. So this also works the opposite way, and that's something that I'm really concerned about. Public schools have always been indoctrinating children with whatever ideals are popular at the time. And I definitely had to fight this as a kid. I'll talk about this more in another video. But right now the popular thing is telling people that, oh, Black people have it hard. Oh, and if you're a woman, you're disadvantaged. So that study I talked about, it also works in reverse. When you have a lower expectation for a child, subconsciously, somehow it just tends to work out that they will meet that low expectation. And that really bothers me. Teach them to walk a little bit faster than they normally walk. This just kind of makes you feel better. It brings your spirits up. It makes you look like a person who has a purpose, not a person who's kind of wandering and could potentially be led in another direction. Posture. Teach your children to pull their shoulders back, keep their head up. Teach them how to speak with their hands. Teach them how to speak to adults, how to ask questions. Teach your children to be disagreeable. I really think that is the number one, probably the number one personality trait that I came in with, and that was developed through my childhood that really saved me, was that I looked at things and I didn't just accept them. I always said, why? If an adult asked me to do something, I would think about it before actually doing it. And if things were a bad idea, I would speak up or I would refuse to go along with it. And I'm still like that to this day. Part of that is growing up in an abusive home with an adult that you can't trust. You learn that authority isn't what you think it is, and that in this world you have to think for yourself. Otherwise, you get led to the... Okay, so what have I said so far? Make eye contact, dress respectfully, walk fast, have good posture. The fifth is having your health show through in your appearance, right? Like I said before, the lions want to pick off the unhealthy ones. And with human beings, we have the ability to make the quickest judgments on a person based on the most minor things. So make sure kids are well hydrated. Give them water and not juice. Don't give your kids juice full of dyes in it so they're going to have those little Kool-Aid mustaches. Don't give them things with a lot of additives and colors that can give them, hyperactivity or make their blood sugar wildly go crazy. Teach them how to eat healthy foods. Encourage their confidence, their creativity, their intelligence, their gentleness of spirit, their curiosity. And if you're not a parent, you can do this for the children around you. There were people who did that for me as a kid that made a huge difference in my life, and I'll never forget them. I always try to do this for children that I'm around as well. So I hope this video was helpful for you. If you enjoyed it today, please click like. If you didn't like it, click the dislike and give yourself 7 years of bad luck. It's totally your choice. Also, leave me a comment below. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you again soon. Bye for now.